The in vivo approach is just a game changer for patients. It's as simple as an injection.
It opens up new types of therapies and new types of things that we couldn't do before. It lets us make drugs more available to more patients.
I'm 𝘷𝘪𝘷𝘰. As a commentator focused on biotech innovation, I've tracked the convergence of biology and technology to solve our most complex medical challenges. Cell and gene therapies represent foundational milestones in both biotech and medicine, but there are limitations. Cell therapies are enormously complicated to manufacture, which poses significant barriers to access for many patients. In this episode, we'll explore efforts focused on challenging that by expanding the therapeutic toolbox. The key? The body as a bioreactor.
Traditionally, for the history of medicine, really at this point, we've been making something and then giving it to a patient. And that thing that we give is doing something, is taking an action within the body to treat a disease. Moving now towards the body as a bioreactor, can we actually give the body an instruction instead? So instead of delivering an actual material, can we tell the body, do this, and have it itself produce the material inside its own cells?
I think today's paradigm is obviously ex vivo manufacturing of all the classic biopharmaceuticals, whether that's a monoclonal antibody, an ex vivo cell therapy, or a viral vector. And that drives certain complexities in manufacturing, but it also perhaps occasionally restricts the design space of some of the payloads that you can work with inside the bodies.
What we are now doing is telling the cells to make their own proteins rather than giving the proteins.
To get an idea of what it would mean to bring such therapies to patients, let's look at how cell therapies are manufactured and delivered today. The logistics are intensive, involving complex chains of custody and rigorous environmental controls to mitigate patient risk.
The biggest challenge what the traditional ex vivo therapy faces, I think, is the logistic. You take it to the facility where they are engineered and then given back to the patient. So vein to vein time is several weeks. It could last from 6 to 12 weeks.
Because you need complex logistics for starting material, but also the product. And you need to collect cells from a patient, which are ex vivo manufactured at the centralized manufacturing site. And then after processing of the cells, the product needs to get back to the patient. So the logistics is really the biggest problem here.
There's also a delay then when you actually receive the treatment, depending on how long it takes to manufacture those cells. When you do it in vivo instead, it's as simple as an injection, and so it's a much more straightforward process for the patient.
This centralized model, though powerful, is limited in its reach. In areas with under-resourced healthcare systems and infrastructure, it's next to impossible. Diversifying the therapeutic paradigm to include in vivo delivery could help make advanced genomic medicine more accessible and sustainable for a broader demographic of patients worldwide.
It's complicated, it's costly, and it's logistically intensive. And so it's estimated that a fraction of the patients who are eligible to these therapies in developed nations are actually getting them. So we have an access problem in some of the most sophisticated healthcare systems, let alone access for the globe. And when we think of sickle cell disease, which is most prevalent in sub-Saharan Africa, we're not actually able to make that drug accessible to the patients who need it most. So shifting to these in vivo approaches and eliminating that complexity that's happening outside the body lets us make drugs more available to more patients. The current approach is just not going to be sustainable and is not going to bring those drugs to those who need them.
The in vivo approach is just a game changer for patients and accessibility. Instead of that, we can still make personalized medicines, but the manufacturing is no longer the really expensive part of all of it.
In vivo genomic medicine will be available as off-the-shelf products, because in vivo genomic medicine will help developing countries because it has a greater patient accessibility and they're much easier to produce than ex vivo cell therapeutics.
Moving towards having the body as the bioreactor simplifies the manufacturing of these drugs, which makes it not only more accessible from a cost perspective, but just more deployable to more people.
It is essential to view this shift not as a replacement of established methodologies, but as an expansion. A dual modality paradigm where clinicians have more tools to choose from. Therapies that can be produced within the patient would add a powerful new dimension to translational medicine, and it would help reach patients who are out of reach today.
This isn't an ex vivo versus in vivo. It's not about A replaces B. It's about expanding that design space so you have the greatest possible patient impact.
So when we think about this shift that's happening, it is hard to point to any one technology. It's a convergence of things. I think we see a similar situation here where really the last 2 years has been a convergence of a lot of different technologies advancing in parallel.
Today's exploration of in vivo therapeutics marks a pivotal shift in the biotech landscape. By utilizing the patient's own biology as a synthesis platform, we are expanding the biotechnological design space to make it easier both to reach patients and to treat them. But how do we move this vision to clinical reality? Join us for our next episode to find out. We'll dive deep into the science behind the vision and the convergence of technologies driving it forward.